Hey tribe, how you doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be your review of Queen Sugar Season 3, Episode 4. So this episode, the whole episode is about, not about, but the culmination of this episode is going to be, it's the 1 year anniversary of, or commemoration of, the death of their father. And it seems like a lot's happened in a year, but I guess it has only been a year. I mean, if you think about the whole first two seasons with all the things that happened. And so they're getting ready for this bonfire the whole episode, but as you see, things happen where they get some clarity with the bonfire. And the bonfire it was Blue's idea, because, remember his grandfather died on his birthday last year, or around his birthday last year. And so for him, which is so insightful for a young man, a little boy his age. For him, he took what could have been a bad situation, and he didn't want to have a party. He wanted to do the bonfire, which is something him and his grandfather had done for their ancestors that had passed before. You write a message on a piece of paper, you put it in the fire, and the message goes up to heaven. And that's what Blue said he wanted to do. So we see, remember at the end of the last episode, Darla came back. So you see Darla and Ralph Angel struggling with their new normal of they're not a couple anymore. How do they go back to just co-parenting? Because remember, they had started doing the co-parenting thing before they got back together, but it was always that sexual tension between them where I think they wanted to be together. They just didn't know how to find their way back to each other. Whereas now, Ralph Angel just ain't here for it. He's just really not here for it. He still loves her, and I think they're going to eventually get back together. But for right now, he's angry and he's processing, and he just ain't here for it. And Darla tells him, he's like, "How long you gonna be here?" She said, "I'm gonna be here. Like, as long as Blue is in St. Joe's, I'm gonna be in St. Joe's. Like, I'm good. I'm back for good, and we're just gonna have to figure this out." And you see where, I'm going to just kind of jump ahead a little bit. But you see where, there's a field trip that she wants to take Blue on. And, Ralph Angel's like, "Well, I already told the teacher I'm going." And she's like, "Okay, but I shouldn't have to ask your permission to spend time with my child. Like, he's my son. Well, he's our son. And I'm not really asking you if I can do this. Like, I'm here. I'm going to be a part of his life. I'm going to be with him." And you just see Ralph Angel is really struggling with that, which, I understand for a lot of reasons. I get it. I understand. But, it's not the son's fault. And y'all going to have to figure out a way to kind of bring it back together. So then we see Vi and Charlie talking. And Vi's like, "Look, I'm up to my elbows in pies, but I need to get Prosper to his doctor's appointment because, remember, he hurt his knee. He has to have surgery." And Charlie's like, "Look, I got a million things to do. Why can't Nova do it?" And Vi's like, "Well, first of all, Nova is getting everything ready for the bonfire, and if you were talking to her, you would know that." So we see that Nova and Charlie are still not speaking. And Charlie, she don't really agree to do it. Vi don't really give her a choice that she's going to do it. Then we see that Nova is struggling. Remember, she can't use any of her old articles, and she came up with the idea last episode to do it on the black farmers, but she's still not really figuring out where to start or what angle to come at, and she's kind of struggling too. So you see where the sisters aren't speaking, and they're struggling kind of in their own way, because Charlie was struggling trying to figure out what she was going to write to her father. Then we see, Vi's in the kitchen. Remember, she was renting the kitchen from the church. They gave her a hard time about it, but they let her do it because, money talks and, everything else walks. But the nasty woman comes in and tells her she got to hurry up and get out the kitchen because the something ministry needs the kitchen. And Vi's like, "Wait a minute. I get the kitchen every, this is my time. Basically, this is my time and this is what I paid for." And the lady is like, "Oh, well, you got to get up out of here because this is their time and this has been their time for however many years. And, oh, well." Vi's like, "You ain't had no problems with my check clearing." You know what I mean? But what's she going to do? Like, what's she going to do? So we see Charlie meeting with her investigator, because remember, Charlie is on a mission to figure out where the bodies are buried in the Landry business and how she can exploit that to her advantage. What am I doing? Sorry. And how she can exploit that to her advantage. Well, they're finding money. Like, they see where they're kind of laundering money and they're doing some things with the money that ain't right, but it's not the smoking gun that Charlie's looking for. And she's getting frustrated because I think she thought it would be easier and she'd be able to get it faster and put her plan into place. But it's not going quite as fast as she thought it was going to go. So then we see Charlie with Mr. Prosper. She's picking him up for his doctor's appointment, and he can't find all of his paperwork, his insurance paperwork and stuff like that. And y'all know how Charlie can get when she's busy, and so she's a little impatient. She's not rude, but she's a little impatient. And he's like, I'm sorry, you know, my wife just had a system, and I just ain't figured out her system yet, and I just can't find everything. So Charlie starts looking around, and she sees that Mr. Prosper was a jazz player. And he has, you know, a saxophone and all that good stuff. And Charlie's like, okay, well, you know, I'm not trying to rush you, but we got to get there so we don't miss our appointment. And he's like, can we just sit down for a minute? Like, can I just get a minute to get myself together? And Charlie's like, you know what, I'm sorry. I don't mean to rush you. And, you know, he starts reminiscing on her father. Because, of course, this whole episode is about her father. And he starts reminiscing on his father. He's like, you know, I really miss him. That was my best friend. You know, he always talked about you and how great, you know, how you just were so headstrong and you would just, you know, he said anybody who would listen, he was just so proud of you. And so you see Charlie say, you know, how about this? How about we reschedule your appointment for tomorrow? I'll come over in the morning. I'll help you find all your paperwork and then we'll do that. And he was like, you know, I'm sorry to waste your time. She said, no problem. I got you. So then we see Vi trying to deliver her pies. And a couple of the pies are smushed and stuff like that. And Hollywood was like, look, we need to get you a delivery truck because, you know, you're doing too much. And, you know, you're losing inventory. And, you know he don't like the way things went down at the church. And, you know, Vi's like, look, I'm doing it. I got it. Like, I got it. And Hollywood is like, you ain't got this. You know what I mean? Like, this is you wearing yourself out. And you see where Vi has to take a breath and has to kind of sit down. And she's just kind of like struggling a little bit. So later on, you see them at the house. And Hollywood, he done cooked dinner for her using one of Nova's little healthy meals and everything. And he's telling her, look, I found a broke down delivery truck. You know, I can get it fixed up and we can get it all straight for you. We're going to get you a sign for the side of your truck so everybody know you coming. You know, y'all know how Hollywood is. He like, I get that. And Vi was like, I don't have the money for a truck yet. He was like, I'm going to buy you the truck. Don't you worry about it. I've got it. And Vi's like, look. And she breaks down and she tells him, she said, look, I don't want to owe anybody anything. I started this. This is my business. And I need to do it my way. Like, I need you to understand that I really need this to go my way. And Hollywood was like, I hear what you're saying, but what you also need to understand is you need to accept help. One, all help ain't bad help. You know what I mean? Because she was like, you know, my ex-husband held this house. He bought this house and he held it over my head every chance he got. And Hollywood was like, first of all, you ain't going to compare me to that dude. I'm not him and you know that. He was like, second of all, you need to learn how to accept help from people. And what he said, I saw the father. His name was it Preston? It wasn't Preston. I don't know why I feel like I want to call him Preston, but his name wasn't Preston. But he was like, I saw him running himself down trying to take care of this farm, and I just don't want to see that happen to you, especially when I can help. You know, and it's not even so much that he got the settlement. It's just that I'm here. I got you. I can help. And you see them kind of, you know, leave it at that for the moment. Then something happened that I don't like. They sort of showed us a glimpse of this last season, and I wasn't feeling it last season, and I'm still not feeling it. But we see Remy and Nova. They're not flirting, but you can tell that there's something there. There's some sort of spark with them. I don't like it. I don't like the direction that that's going in, and I don't know if I'm here for it. Now, I know I'm not here for it. But you see them, they just, and again, it's an innocent thing, but you can just see there's something there with them. But Remy's at the farm because he bought his class out there to just show them the farm and talk to them about black farmers and how, there are not that many of them, but this is a family here of black farm owners, and, they're keeping the tradition going and they're farming their land. And Nova kind of watches him with his students, and she's kind of impressed, and they get to talking. She found her father's old fishing kit, and she told Remy the story about the last time she went fishing with her dad and how they stopped to get bait, and some white guys harassed him, and he ended up with a busted lip. She didn't see it happen, but she just saw when he came back to the car, he had a busted lip, and she saw the white men in the window kind of with that little smug look on their face, like, yeah, we got that nigga. And she was like, that's the last time she went fishing with her father, and again, I just don't like it. I don't like where that's going. I don't like it. I don't like that. Let me see Michael with his dad. They're at the house. Michael comes, well, I can't remember nobody's name. His father came to pick him up, but his name is on the tip of my tongue, y'all. I'm going to remember it. His name, I wrote it down somewhere. His name is on the tip of my tongue, but he finds out about the bonfire, and he's kind of like, oh, y'all having a bonfire, y'all not, he didn't say anything like about you didn't invite me or you didn't, ask me if I could come or nothing like that. He ain't say anything, but his look sort of said he was disappointed that he wasn't invited to come to the bonfire. But he took Micah out. They go to the arcade. He gets a phone call, and he walks off to take the call. And you see them later on talking. They're in the car, and he's talking to Micah, and he said, you got everything ready for the bonfire. And Micah was like, yeah, I'm good. And he said, your grandfather really meant a lot to me. He's like, I had a relationship with him that people don't know and don't understand. He said he came to all my big games. He would call me just to say hi, just to see how I was doing, just to check on me. He said he did more for me than my own father did for me. And I thought, I was like, okay, that's why he was looking the way he was looking, about not being able to come to the bonfire. Like, that's why he was feeling some kind of way. Then he makes this big confession to Micah. He was like, you have a sister. Huh? So I'm thinking, remember last season when he was dating that chick? I'm thinking maybe he knocked her up. She had a baby, right? Nope. He was like, yeah, her name is, I don't remember the girl named Tia. Something like that. No. And Micah's like, what? I got a who? He was like, yeah, it was a while back, and her mother just recently passed. And Micah was like, wait a minute. And he asked him the $1 million question. How old is she? Because, that's the question I wanted to know. She's 13 years old. Micah was like, excuse me? He said, yeah, it was an affair I had. He said, have you known all this time? His father said, yeah. Does my mother know? No, I haven't told her yet. Yo. So, Micah, I know Michael. Michael jumped out the car and ran off. Which I don't blame him. I probably would have done that so I ain't punch him in his goddamn lip, right? But it's so many things wrong with that. First of all, you weren't going to ever tell us, had that woman not died, were you ever going to tell him he had a sister and tell them about it? No, you weren't, because it had already been 13 years. And even through the divorce and through all that other stuff that happened with the prostitute or whatever, you never came clean. Because that would have been the perfect time to come clean. Because she was already mad at you. But you never came clean. You never told them what was going on. Then, you're going to tell Micah before you tell Charlie. That puts Micah in a fucked up situation because that's his mother. So what's he supposed to do? Not tell his mother what's going on? Like, that wasn't fair to tell him before you told Charlie. I mean, if you had a problem, tell him at the same time. But don't do that. Don't put Micah in. He's a child. Don't put him in that situation. Then, the girl 13, you've known all along. So have you been playing weekend daddy to this girl? Like, it's so many questions. But that was a bombshell. And that's about to be a whole big old mess with that. So then we see Charlie was taking Mr. Prosper to the doctor. and she went to go get his jacket out of, while he was getting in the car, and he's got a notice of eviction. He's been evicted from his home, and at the bottom of the and on the letterhead of the letter, guess who's evicting him? The Landry family. So they go to the doctor, and Charlie asked him. She was like, "Who's gonna take care of you after your surgery?" He said, "Well, I'm gonna call my daughter." She was like, "You haven't called your daughter yet to tell him?" And he was like, "Nah, She said, "Well, have you told your daughter you're going to be evicted?" And he was like, "That's my business." She said, "Yeah, I saw the letter. I'm sorry, but, I thought you owned the land." And he went to explain how, he didn't own the land, but he had been farming the land for years. And the Landrys, they just had this understanding up until recently. And all of a sudden now he's got to go. He's got a 30-day notice. Now, remember last week, another family was being evicted, right? So Charlie is like, there's something going on here. But the nurse gets ready to call Mr. Prosper back. And guess who his nurse is? His nurse is the guy that flirted with Charlie at the bar that helped her start her car. That gave her his number and was like, "Well, call me if you wanna." So of course they have a little moment where she was like, "I'm sorry I didn't call. It's not that I'm not interested. It's just I've been really busy." He was like, "It's okay. It's cool. If you ever get unbusy and you have time to call and you think about me, give me a call. I'll take you out to eat." Like, he's being real cool about it. He ain't got an attitude. He ain't even mad. But Charlie, of course, has more things on her mind. So she said, "Yeah, I'll give you a call." Charlie goes to confront Landry. Not the older Landry, the younger guy, the one that keeps flirting with her. And he blames it on the EPA. He said the EPA is making us do it. We're losing money too. We hate to do it, but the EPA, after these last two hurricanes, they want to do some testing on the land, and they've told us that we got to put our people off the land so they can come in and do what they need to do, so they can make sure that the land is still viable and all this. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me. I think it's some underhand, some shit they got going on. They're trying to clear that land for a reason. I don't know what that reason is. I don't know if they done found oil. I don't know what it is, but there's a reason why they clearing them people off the land, and it ain't got shit to do with no damn EPA. But here's where the hook comes in. He hits, so of course she's upset, and she's like, "You can't just be putting people off. That's a family friend, da 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 da." He was like, "Well, sit down. Let's talk about it." And Charlie was like, "I ain't trying to sit down with you." He said, "Well, you're a part of this too." And you saw the light bulb just click with Charlie, like, fuck, I do. Like, I am a part of this, huh? So she sits down. I don't know what they talked about, but she sits down. And this is what Nova was trying to warn her about. This is what Nova was worried about. Like, you're doing business with the devil. You done made a deal with the devil, and now you gotta lay in that shit. So they have the bonfire. And you see each person comes up. And each person comes up and sort of resolves the conflict that they're dealing with. You see Nova put her note in. And then you see her later on figure out how to write her book. And the book is going to be about her father. You saw her note cards, fishing trip, and different things that have been discussed throughout the episode about her dad. So she's good, right? Then you see Ralph Angel put his note in, and you see Ralph Angel put a line through the permission slip and add Darla's name to the permission slip. So you see that he's going to try to work out this whole co-parenting thing and kind of get past his anger. You see Vi put her message in, and then you see her talk to Hollywood later on, and accept his help, say, "I'm going to let you buy me that truck. But you got to understand, this is going to be hard for me, and you got to work with me on this." And, Hollywood was like, "I got you, girl." Then you see Charlie put her note in, and her note said, "I'll take care of him," because she's looking at Mr. Prosper. She's like, "I'll take care of him." So I don't know what she's going to do to make sure he keeps his home or his land. Like, I don't know if she's going to buy him a house or whatever. But that was the promise she made to her dad, that she will take care of him. You see Micah still struggling. Like, you see him looking at some old, like, YouTube footage of his dad and his mom, and when they were, in happier times or what have you. And that's sort of where the episode ends. So you see there was some resolution, but that, like I said, that whole thing with Micah is going to be some mess. That situation with Nova and Remy. I ain't liking where that's going, but that's gonna be some mess. So we'll see. But that was tonight's episode. Y'all let me know what y'all think in them comments.